موقع الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وآله الطيبين الطاهرين، لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين أجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف. First, I offer my condolences to Imam Mahdi Ajal Allah Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif and to all of you for martyrdom anniversary of Imam Musa ibn Ja'far al-Kazim alayhi salam. And I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would give us ability to follow Imam Kazim alayhi salam and other Imams and benefit from their true guidance and also be granted nearness to them, inshallah, in the hereafter. Our discussion tonight, based on Tadhkirat Muttaqin, is about true Ulama, and in particular Ayatollah Bahari puts emphasis on being detached from dunya. Also because we are commemorating the martyrdom of Imam Kazim alayhi salam, so I want to share some of his beautiful words. So I chose this phrase from Imam Kazim alayhi salam when he talks to Hisham ibn Hakam. There is a beautiful hadith from Imam Kazim alayhi salam in the beginning of Usul al-Kafi, in the very first section, which is on Aql wa Jahl. Imam has this hadith. Some of you may have noticed that many years ago we had a series in the Shrine of Lady Ma'asuma on this hadith called Imam Kazim on Intellect. Alhamdulillah, we had 11 weekly lectures on this hadith. I want to mention something from the middle of this hadith. This hadith is about knowledge, about understanding, about aql, very much about aql. This is the same famous hadith that says, Allah has two types of hujjah. Inna lillahi ta'ala ala nasi hujjatain, hujjatan zahira, wa hiya al-anbiya wa rusul wal a'imma, wa hujjatan batina, wa hiya al-aql. The same hadith. So Imam alayhi salam says, Ya Hisham, إن العاقل رضي بالدون من الدنيا مع الحكمة ولم يرضى بالدون من الحكمة مع الدنيا فلذلك ربحت تجارته. O Hisham, Aqil is satisfied with little of dunya if he or she has hikmah. If we can have hikmah, dunya as just necessity is enough. But if you offer to aqil, to someone who is rational, the opposite, you say, we give you lots of dunya, a little of hikmah and ma'rifah. He says, no, I don't want. This is a loss. I'm not replacing money with hikmah, with ma'rifah, with knowledge. So since they are happy with the necessity when it comes to dunya, and they have focused on hikmah, they are winning. They are making lots of profit. Rabihat tijaratu. This is especially important for seekers of knowledge and for ulama. Every believer should aim at having necessity of dunya, but as much as possible hikmah, as much as possible knowledge, ma'rifah. Every believer, but especially seekers of knowledge, they need to observe this more, because seeking knowledge cannot happen unless you let some of the things that people of dunya may think they are opportunities, let them go. In their view, maybe they call it sacrifice. Sometimes you have to sacrifice in order to really learn and become an alim and then serve as an alim. They may call you have to sacrifice. People who have deep ma'rifah and insight, they don't call it sacrifice. They call it saving your time and energy. They call it being clever and being really intelligent in not spending your valuable time for something which is temporary. It's not sacrifice. You are gaining something better. You are just more insightful and you are considering long-term interest. So this is a sign of aqil, and Ayatollah Bahari Hamadan Shirazi he says this is a sign of alim as well. Ya Hisham, inna al-uqala taraku fudul ad-dunya fa kayfa adh-dhunub. Those who are wise and rational, they abandon even unnecessary things which are halal, but unnecessary. Fudul means something which is additional, something which is extra, even from halal. فَكَيْفَ الذُّنُوب. Then what about sins? Certainly they would not cheat, or they would not, do zulm, or they would not, for example, take, usury so that they make more money or more dunya. وَتَرْكُ الدُّنْيَا مِنَ الْفَضْلِ وَتَرْكُ الذُّنُوبِ مِنَ الْفَرْضِ. Not to have excess in dunya is fadl, is a merit. Not to commit sins is an obligation. So when they are that much committed that they would not go for dunya even if it is halal, then certainly they do not go for haram. Haram is also dunya, but dirty side of dunya, or dirtiest side of dunya is haram. Ya Hisham, inna al-aqil nadhara ila dunya wa ila ahliha. Aqil looks at the people of dunya and what they have done and what they have achieved. You know that most of people who have dunya, they have worked hard. It's not that every person just, wins lottery and, becomes rich. No. This is very rare, and normally such people, even when they win lotteries, soon they lose the money. But those who have really made, big businesses, they made lots of money, they have worked hard. Even people, for example, who work for fame, for power, for politics, all these things, they work hard. Sometimes, for years, day and night they work. So, those who are wise and rational, they would realize that dunya needs efforts. Akhirah also needs efforts. So now that I have to work hard and make efforts, shouldn't I work hard and make efforts for something which is more enduring? Of course, if I am intelligent, I would do this. إن العاقل نظر إلى الدنيا وإلى أهلها فعلم أنها لا تنال إلا بالمشقة ونظر إلى الآخرة فعلم أنها لا تنال إلا بالمشقة فطلب بالمشقة أبقاهما. He looks carefully at dunya needs efforts. Looks at akhirah also needs efforts. So he said, let me put my efforts for something which is more enduring. يا هشام إن العقلاء زهدوا في الدنيا ورغبوا في الآخرة. Those who are really wise and use their aql, they try to be not yearning for dunya, try to be having simple life in dunya. They have yearning for akhirah. Because they know dunya is talibatun matluba. Akhirah is also talibatun wa matluba. Dunya is taliba means seeking, but matluba means something that people seek for, people look for it. Akhirah is taliba and matluba. But taliba, what does taliba mean? Matluba maybe is more clear. فَمَنْ طَلَبَ الْآخِرَةِ طَلَبَتْهُ الدُّنْيَا حَتَّى يَسْتَوْفِيَ مِنْهَا رِزْقَهُ. If you are talib of dunya, if you seek dunya, akhirah comes after you. If you seek akhirah, dunya comes after you. Man talab al-akhirah, who is seeking akhirah, who is working for akhirah, is after akhirah, talabatul dunya, dunya comes to you, says, I know that you are working for akhirah, but take from me your rizq. Allah has allocated these things for you. You run away from dunya, dunya runs away after you. But those who go after dunya, طلبته الآخرة فيأتيه الموت فيفسد عليه دنياه وآخرته. But then their death comes, they are no longer able to benefit from dunya, they have not done anything for akhirah. So if you want dunya and akhirah, work for akhirah. Dunya comes, and Allah has guaranteed. When it comes to akhirah, Allah has not guaranteed. With all His mercy, with all His generosity, with all His razzaqiyah, He has not said, your akhirah is upon me. He said, you have to do something. Yes, I can multiply your hasanat, but you have to do something. He warns actually about the hereafter. There is no guarantee, there is no promise that I will take care of your akhirah, just focus on dunya. Then Imam says to Hisham ibn Hakam, Ya Hisham, man arad al-ghina bila malin wa rahat al-qalb min al-hasad wa salamata fi ad-din. If someone is interested in having ghina, rich without money, comfort of heart without jealousy, and have sound faith. Everyone certainly wants this. If they are aqil, they want not to be poor, they have ghina, they have enough to get what they want, what they need, to have comfort and joy in the heart and sound faith. Okay, if someone wants these, فَلْيَتَضَرَّ إِلَى اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ فِي مَسْأَلَتِهِ بأن يكمل أو يكمل عقله. Ask Allah for this. This is the best dua that you can have. That Allah gives you aql. Because if you have aql, you have iman. If you have aql, you have all the virtues. So in the same hadith before that, we have this beautiful saying that Imam says, those who are more perfect in aql are arfa'uhum darajatan fi dunya wal akhirah. Much emphasis is put on aql in this hadith. So, if they want غنا بلا مال, راحة القلب من الحسد, سلامة في الدين, فليتضرع إلى الله عز وجل في مسألته. In dua, he should humbly beg Allah to complete or to perfect his aql or her aql. فَمَنْ عَقَلَهُ قَنَعَ بِمَا يَكْفِي. If you are aqil, you will be content and pleased with what is enough. Just to have enough. To have what is adequate. And مَنْ قَنَعَ بِمَا يَكْفِي اسْتَغْنَى. If you are content with what is enough, then you feel rich. People may have lots of money and they feel poor. They feel vulnerable. They're always worried. And people may have less, but they feel rich. Because these things are a matter of your feeling and assessment. وَمَنْ لَمْ يَقْنَعْ بِمَا يَكْفِي. And if you are not content with what is enough, لَمْ يُدْرِكَ الْغِنَى أَبَدًا. We would never feel rich. So these are some of the beautiful words of Imam Kazim alayhi salam to Hisham ibn Hakam. But Hisham is, in a sense, representing all of us. We can all be addressed with this. Now we go to Tadhkirat Muttaqin. Ayatollah Bahari Hamedani, after the first section that we alhamdulillah studied, then in the second part of the book he has 4 pieces which explain certain facts for awakening the wayfarer towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first one is در صفات علماء حقه, is about qualities of true ulama. Yes, alim can be true and can be fake. Certainly, alim who has no knowledge is fake. If someone has title or amama but has no knowledge, this is fake. But also, more than that, if someone has even knowledge but it doesn't have light of knowledge, doesn't have impact of knowledge on his heart, this is also fake alim, even if he has lots of knowledge. Those who have no knowledge and no light, this is double fake. And only they can, unfortunately deceive people who are naive. He says, we mention some of the qualities of ulama akhirat. In the title was ulama haqqi, true ulama. Here it says ulama haqqi or ulama akhirat. A true alim is the alim whose aim is akhirah, whose concern is akhirah. He has not neglected dunya, but his aim is akhirah for himself and for people who benefit from him. Opposite to ulama is su wa ahl dunya, to bad ulama who are after dunya. He says, we mention some of the characteristics of ulama of akhirah in contrast to ulama of dunya, so that not everyone easily thinks that I am a good mentor, murabbi, educator, I am a person who is working for akhirah, I can help people, or people think that they can benefit from him. Something to evaluate yourself if you are alim, something people can evaluate you with if they are looking for an alim. The very first true alim, alim of akhirah, باید زاهد در دنیا باشد. We just had from Imam Kazim alayhi salam, zuhd fi dunya. The exact wording of Imam was this: إن العقلاء زهدوا في الدنيا ورغبوا في الآخرة. عالم باید, he says, باید زاهد در دنیا باشه, must have ascetic life, simple life, but it's not a matter of how much you possess. If it was like this, it was easy. We say, okay, how much this person owns, we can say he's alim akhirat or alim dunya. If, for example, he doesn't have car or house, he is alim akhirat. If he has car, if he has a house, if he has money, he is not alim akhirat. It's not as simple as that. Maybe someone has nothing and is alim dunya and is thirsty for dunya but doesn't get it. Or maybe he's showing off. Maybe someone has plenty but is not ahl dunya. Of course, alim should not have as much as possible unless there are exceptional cases. Not should have luxurious life, not should have something that is more than average as much as possible. But sometimes there are circumstances we cannot judge. We need to work on ourselves. معنای زهد رفع علقه قلبی است. In your heart, you should not belong to dunya. You should not be attached to dunya. Dunya should not possess you, as we had this in hadith, beautiful hadith, was zuhd. ليس الزهد ألا تملك شيئا بل الزهد ألا يملكك شيء. Zuhd is not a matter of not possessing. It's a matter of not being possessed. So I should not be possessed by dunya. But this should have impact on my life also. I cannot cheat or deceive myself. Say, don't have no belonging to dunya, but then day and night I am thinking about dunya and I'm accumulating dunya. لازمه آن رفع علاقه ظاهریه افتاده است. This lack of attachment to dunya would require that in your practices also you observe that. Of course, as I said, we cannot say you have to always be, for example, poor or have nothing, but you can genuinely look at yourself and how much in your planning dunya is important. When you choose, for example, what to do, where to work, how to do tabligh, where to accept invitation, I don't know, all these things you can see in these calculations how much dunya is there. Why alim has to be detached from dunya? He says because the least level of knowledge is to know that dunya is something which is very little. Haqarat is very small, very little. Dunya is with lots of darkness and problems. Dunya is expiring and finishing. On the other hand, the minimum of knowledge is to know that akhirah is much better. وَالْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ لَكَ وَأَبْقَى is better, it's more enduring. It has safa. Dunya has kudurat. Dunya is mixed with problems, with darkness, with pain. Akhirah is pure and eternal. And you cannot work for dunya and akhirah. This is a very important point. Unfortunately, sometimes we think we are very clever. We work for dunya and akhirah together. No, it's impossible. Yes, work for akhirah and then choose for your rizq a job, a work, a business that helps you with dunya, but under akhirah, in the sense that you can say that my work is something that would help me with my akhirah. Not that you work for dunya separately and for akhirah separately. It's not possible. He says dunya and akhirah are dharratan. Dharra with dhad means two ladies who are married to the same man. If two ladies are married to the same person, then normally they don't get along. Normally, but there are exceptions sometimes, maybe they do. But it's example. Dunya and akhirah cannot be together satisfied with one person, either dunya or akhirah. If someone has not understood that dunya is very little and expires and mixed with the problems, so how can we say he's alim? This is what a child also understands. Maybe a child doesn't act upon it, but understands it. How much we are going to be in this dunya? Where is your father, mother, grandfather, all these people who have passed away? So everyone would understand this. If someone doesn't understand that akhirah is greater, again he says, wa kufra. For the first one he says, wa humqa. That's a stupidity. This is kufr. If you don't believe that akhirah is greater and eternal. If you don't know that these two cannot be together, wa zandaqata is like zindiq. Zindiq means like atheist, naturalist. But if you have understood this, you say, no, I have no problem with theory. I know dunya is problem. I can give lecture about this. I know that akhirah endures. Akhirah is the main thing. I know all this. My problem, honestly, is my nafs. My nafs takes me towards dunya because dunya gives satisfaction to my desires. حفت الدنيا بالشهوات. He says if he cannot take care of his nafs, فهو أسير الشهوة. This person is captive of shahwa, of lower desires, whims. ومثل هذه النفوس غير قابلة من أن تعد في درجة العلماء. Such a person who cannot control his shahwa is not qualified to be counted in the rank of ulama. Ulama inherit prophets. Al-ulama warathatul anbiya. Ulama innama yakhsha Allah min ibadihi al-ulama. Ulama are those that remind us of Allah. If you are not able to control your nafs, then don't call yourself alim. Then he says, there is a poem in Arabic. وراعي الشاة يحمي الذئب عنها فكيف إذا الرعاء لها ذئاب. A shepherd is supposed to protect the cattle, the sheep and goats from wolves. Yeah, a shepherd doesn't let wolves attack and kill these animals. What happens if the shepherds themselves are wolves? Ulama are to protect people from dunya and ahl dunya. What if ulama themselves are ahl dunya and work with the people of dunya together? What happens to poor people? So the signs of this quality is to avoid dunya except that much you need for your akhirah. And also to keep distance from those who have power, especially salatin, those who have power, like kings. Try to keep distance from them. Don't go and take from them or money or position, etc. Unless between you and Allah you are sure that you try to have good relation with them so that you can bring them to the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can use your influence to help people, to help religious values to be observed. Like we have, he says, in case of some of the companions of Imams, that they were working for the system of the caliphs, and sometimes we read that Imams gave them permission because they could help the poor people, oppressed people, etc. But this is for someone that is sure that he would not be influenced. And we can understand this from hadith as well. The third is that your your action and your words should match. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, under the ayah إنما يخشى الله من عباده العلماء, said ulama are those whose acts confirm their words. من صدق فعله قوله ومن لم يصدق فعله قوله فليس بعالم. But if someone speaks very beautifully but his acts are different, this is not alim. This is not alim. So when we say إنما يخشى الله من عباد العلماء, only ulama have khashya of Allah, means true ulama. Okay, these are three things that he makes here, 3 points about true ulama. Inshallah, we can continue this discussion in the next session, inshallah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل